Today we are going to be looking at self-censorship and collection development. First, why is it important to have a collection policy? There are three reasons that we're going to be discussing. The first one is establishment. Establishment is how, when, and where the collection will be used. This creates a guideline for the collection development. It's also important for the user because it identifies who the user is. For example, an elementary school will gear their development of their collection to the elementary age student. Also, the material, what will be in the collection, the type of the material, and what criteria is used for adding these materials to the collection overall. We're going to look at two articles. The first article, The Decision by School Librarians to Self-Censor by April M. Dawkins. For this article, I will look at three different categories or three different sections. The first one is the definition before we get to the different categories. Dawkins defines self-censorship as occurring when a school librarian chooses not to add material to a collection for fear of a challenge. This article looks at a 2016 online survey that was given in North and South Carolina to over 450 librarians. The survey looked at how they make collection selections, how their administrative support influences their decision making, and how all of this leads to the dreaded self-censorship. Some problems with self-censorship are it prevents the librarian from adding materials that would be beneficial to students. It's important for the librarian to add materials that are beneficial to students without fear of challenge or retaliation. That cannot always be in the back of the librarian's head because the benefits should outweigh the risk. It also does not allow for topics to be accessible, for all topics to be accessible. Students should be able to access topics that they need for that particular age and that particular school or that particular knowledge that they are seeking out. Librarians need to be aware of their own bias. The goal of the librarian is to provide materials for students to access information. It is not for them to dictate what information they can and they cannot access. They should not bring their own viewpoints into collection development. It's important that they stay unbiased and disassociated when they're selecting these materials and that they do not let their personal feelings influence the selection. Some takeaways from this article are that self-censorship can be a challenge not to do when you are developing your collection. It's difficult to not worry in the back of your head, is this book going to be challenged and how am I going to defend it? It's also incredibly important to have administrative support in the collection development and for administrators to take an active role in the library. Another article is Children's Collection Development, Good Books or Bad Books Kids Like by Todd Kyle. Kyle looks at the fact that there are books out there that are considered low quality or quote unquote bad books. Oftentimes these books are tied to money-making shows or movies. For example, Dora the Explorer. He looks at how these books just come directly from the shows or the movies and there really isn't any substance and they can oftentimes not be enjoyable or be difficult to read for students of that age. The takeaway here is that reading is reading. Just because it might not have all the markers of a quote unquote good book, it can encourage students to read and develop the love of reading. As they grow and mature, hopefully the goal is that they will take other books and will find more higher quality, well-written, enjoyable books for their own selecting. Because at the end of the day, that is the ultimate goal for students to come into the library with a well-developed collection and find books that they enjoy reading. Here are my references for the article and the textbook, and thank you very much.